Some people don't overreact. They just notice too much. The pause in your voice, the text that felt slightly off. In this video, we're breaking down why overthinkers notice what everyone else misses and why it's both their strength and their curse.
Some people don't react loudly. They don't raise their voices. They don't interrupt. They don't dominate the room. They observe, quietly. And while everyone else moves on from a conversation, they're still replaying it. The pause before someone answered, the subtle shift in tone, the smile that felt slightly off. Most people let those moments pass. Overthinkers don't, because overthinking isn't random, it's hyper-awareness. It's a mind that refuses to ignore inconsistencies. It's the instinct to scan for hidden meaning, not because you want to, but because you can't stop noticing. At night, when the world is quiet, their mind is loud. A text message from hours ago sits open on their phone. It's fine. Two simple words. Most people would read it and move on, but overthinkers read it again and again. They zoom in on the period. They replay the earlier conversation. They analyze the timing. Was it short? Was it distant? Was it passive-aggressive? The message hasn't changed, but the interpretation multiplies. That's the trap. Overthinking lives in interpretation. In social situations, it's even more intense. In a crowded room, while others are laughing freely, overthinkers are scanning the atmosphere. They notice who laughs too hard, who avoids eye contact, who shifts their body away slightly during conversation. They see micro-expressions most people miss. A tightened jaw, a raised eyebrow, a forced smile. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The problem isn't that overthinkers imagine things. The problem is that they notice things, and noticing creates responsibility. If you sense tension, you feel compelled to decode it. If you sense distance, you feel compelled to fix it. If you sense disapproval, you feel compelled to analyze it. And the more you analyze, the more scenarios your mind creates. What if they're upset? What if I said something wrong? What if they misunderstood me? Your brain runs simulations constantly, not because you enjoy it, but because your mind is wired for pattern detection. Overthinkers are often highly intelligent. They're emotionally perceptive. They read between lines instinctively, but intelligence without boundaries becomes exhaustion. Because the world doesn't slow down. Conversations keep moving. People keep talking. Messages keep coming. And while everyone else lives in the present moment, overthinkers live in replay mode. After a meeting, they're still analyzing what someone meant by that one comment. After a date, they're replaying every facial expression. After a simple interaction, they're reconstructing the timeline, and the body feels it. Tension in the jaw, shallow breathing, shoulders slightly raised without noticing. Sleep becomes difficult because the mind won't shut down. Insomnia isn't always about stress. Sometimes it's about unfinished interpretation. Your brain is still solving a social equation, trying to find clarity in ambiguity. Overthinking is fueled by uncertainty, and social life is full of it. People don't always say what they mean. They hint, they imply, they soften, and overthinkers pick up on all of it. But here's the paradox. Sometimes there is nothing deeper. Sometimes the short reply is just a short reply. Sometimes the pause is just a pause. But once your brain learns to search for meaning, it rarely accepts surface-level explanations. This creates emotional isolation. In crowded environments, overthinkers often feel alone. Not because they don't have people around them, but because they're processing at a different speed. While others laugh and move on, they're mentally 3 steps ahead. They're predicting outcomes, evaluating reactions, anticipating shifts in energy. It's exhausting, and that exhaustion can turn into something else. Irritation, frustration, even quiet resentment, not toward people, but toward the constant mental noise, because overthinking doesn't just analyze others, it analyzes you. Why did I say that? Why did I respond that way? Did I sound awkward? Did I seem insecure? The inner critic becomes louder than the outer world, and when your mind never rests, you begin craving silence. Not social silence, mental silence, moments where nothing needs to be decoded, moments where you don't have to read between lines, moments where you don't feel responsible for everyone's emotional temperature. Overthinkers often appear calm, but calm doesn't mean peaceful. Sometimes calm is containment. They're holding in reactions, holding in questions, holding in interpretations, because they've learned that explaining their mental process can overwhelm others. You're overthinking. They've heard it before, so they stop explaining and start internalizing. The awareness becomes private, which makes the isolation deeper. But here's the truth no one talks about. Overthinking is not weakness, it's sensitivity without boundaries. It's intelligence without pause, it's emotional radar turned up too high. The goal isn't to stop noticing, the goal is to stop assuming every signal requires analysis. Not every silence is rejection, not every delay is disapproval, not every facial twitch is hidden judgment. Sometimes your brain is detecting patterns that don't need solving, and learning that distinction is freedom. Because overthinkers do notice what others miss. They notice emotional shifts, subtle discomfort, unspoken tension. That awareness can be powerful. It can make you empathetic, intuitive, insightful, but only if it's balanced. Otherwise, it becomes a loop, and loops feel endless. The same conversation replayed from 10 angles, the same message reinterpreted a dozen times, the same pause expanded into meaning. And eventually, you realize something. You're not just noticing what others miss, you're noticing everything, including things that aren't there. That's when awareness needs discipline, when intelligence needs rest, when perception needs limits. Overthinkers don't need to shut down their minds. They need to choose where to place their attention. Because attention is power, and if you give it to every minor inconsistency, you will exhaust yourself. But if you learn to filter, to let some signals pass, your awareness becomes a strength instead of a burden. The world won't become quieter, but your interpretation of it can. And maybe that's the difference between living inside your thoughts and living inside your life. Overthinkers notice what everyone else misses. But peace begins when you stop believing that you have to solve everything you see.
If this video made you see people differently, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next chapter of the human mind.